So in this short video, I'm going to teach you how to launch yourself into the world of coding with a simple markup language, HTML. And HTML was my first coding language and a first for many. And I promise you, it does not involve any complex logic or math. It's a standard across the web and a really great way to get your feet wet with coding. Even if you decide later to go into software development rather than web development. Actually, in this video, we're going to deploy a website, so we're actually going to have it up on the web by the end of this video. So let's get started with some code. All you need is a text editor. You can use Notepad, or if you're on a Mac, if you're on Windows, you can use Notepad, or if you're on a Mac, you could use TextEdit. The only thing you need is to save your files as .html files. So the extension has to be .html. It does not especially matter what what you name it. Although with the program that we're going to be deploying our website on, it's going to require at least one index.html file. So for this, I would just name it index.html. Let's call this folder where we're going to have our files introduction series. So this is going to be an intro series on web development. So I have some code here. I'm just going to copy and paste this. And what this code does is not super important for now. I will get into explaining it in depth in a few minutes, but I just want to get started on how tags work, how elements work, and how coding in general works. Or at least coding this markup language, HTML. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this as a HTML file. So I'm going to save it as index.html. And save it in the folder that I just created in introduction series. So tags are created like this. This is the markup for tags. Essentially, this is the syntax / markup, whatever you want to call it, for creating tags. So you have the less than sign, the tag name, the greater than sign, and then you have the closing tag. This is an opening tag highlighted, and this is a closing tag highlighted. So you have the closing tag with the less than sign, the slash, the tag name again, and the greater than sign. So they're used to communicate to our website that when we create these, it's like saying to our website that we want to create this element. So if you create a paragraph tag, you want to create a paragraph. If you create an image tag, we're creating an image. There's loads of different tags, so I'm going to walk you through one of these tags right now. This is the H1 tag. So the H1 tag creates a header, a very large header actually, in the style that newspapers have, like a top header, like the highest header, which would be like your news story. That's how the H1 tag works. This is our first web page. So the text that we see here, this is our first web page, is actually what's going to appear in the browser. So I'm just going to double click this folder, double click this link, and as you see, we have, this is our first web page written just as we wrote it. And you can pause the video right now. Of course you have to write this syntax right here, other than the H1. You do not have to include this. So just to get our browser to read the HTML, you want this syntax right here. So you can pause it, copy and paste this, pause this and copy and paste it into your text editor. And mess around with the H1, put whatever you want, put maybe your hobbies, your name, anything you want to see in the browser, you can put in the H1 tag. So I'm going to say, in the style of creating our restaurant, or our, actually, yeah, we can create a restaurant page. So later we're going to deploy it and see this is actually going to become an actual website. So this is how the H1 tag works. So I'm going to save this, refresh the page, and we have Joe's Restaurant. So another tag we have similar is H2. We actually have H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6. And they get incrementally smaller as we go higher. H6 is the largest of the header tags. So we'll see, this is going to be our subheader. So we can write located in Sunnyvale, California. This is just a random location that I thought of. I don't know if this is an actual location or not. Again, you have the opening tag and the closing tag. And what this does is creating an H2 element that's saying the restaurant is located in Sunnyvale, California. So we're seeing this is kind of newspaper style formatting. Or other people sort of think of it like an essay. The next tag I want to show you is the paragraph tag. So that just starts with P, and then you can put whatever text you want in here. It does not have to be 4 to 6 sentences or 8 sentences or whatever your high school or college teacher taught you. Okay, so I wrote, this is a family-owned restaurant. It is operated by the Tribbiani family. So I wrote, we of course we have the paragraph tag, the opening tag, and the closing tag. This is only one. This is 2 sentences. Sorry. So of course you don't actually need a full paragraph, a full 4 to 6 sentence paragraph. You can have 1 sentence or 2 sentences. You can have as much as you want. You can have 100 sentences. Okay, so I'm just going to create another paragraph tag. You can have as many as you want. Let's say the menu a little bit. Pastas and regular pies for our vegetarian options. We also have salads. In addition, we serve many other classic Italian dishes. So I'm just going to end this paragraph tag with a closing tag. So this is the trial version. It really runs forever, so it is kind of free, but I believe there's an option to pay too. It's a weird little Sublime Text thing. Alright, so now let's insert a horizontal line. To give us some space between the 2 headers and the paragraphs. So I'm just going to go back into this section, and note as we press enter here, this isn't actually changing anything on the document. The only way we're going to change stuff from the document is by wrapping it in tags. That's the proper way to change things on the document. Pressing enter will not do anything. So I'm just going to include an HR tag, and an HR tag is really interesting because it does not have a closing tag. It is a self-closing tag. So this is the syntax for a self-closing tag. I'm going to reiterate over here. So the syntax for a self-closing tag is this. So this is how you would write it. Again, we have this HR tag that's self-closing, and we'll see horizontal. That's what it stands for. Horizontal line. That's HR. So we're gonna see a line. We should, after we refresh it, see a line right here. So let's refresh it, and of course I already saved it. And we got the horizontal line. So now I want to include a link. So the way we do that is by typing in a tag, and an a tag is a reference or a link basically. So we have this a, and then we have this href, which is essentially saying go to this link when you click it. So we're gonna get the little blue underline. We're gonna get the link. So I'm just gonna put www.google.com. just so we have a page to go to. And okay, so let's say more menu items. So what's going to go between this opening tag and this closing tag is what we want the blue underlined link to say. So it's not going to say google.com, it's going to say more menu items. So I'm going to refresh, and it says more menu items. But if we click on it, it'll link to google.com. And of course, if you have a website and you want to go to more menu items, that's actually your website with more menu items, you can put your own link here. And as a placeholder, instead of using google.com, we can just use a pound symbol, a hashtag symbol, if you will. And if we use the hashtag, the link does not go anywhere because that's just a placeholder. One other thing is, you see these this text over here. Often we might want to put a tab before a paragraph start, just like we would in an essay. So the way we do that is by using an HTML entity, and you can learn more about those by typing in w3schools.com, and that's a great resource for learning web development. So I'm just gonna create a tab right after the paragraph tag starts, non-break space. So this, it's the N symbol, that's shift 7, NBSP. That stands for non-break space, and then we have the semicolon. So it's end non-break space semicolon, and that should give us some tab. Alright, so we have some tabbing, some formatting. And now we're going to have an image. So the way to do images are by typing image source equals, in quotations we put the source. So let's go get an image from the internet. Let's say pasta. This looks good, so let's download this. This is the way to do it in Macs. So we have this pasta.jpg image. So for the source, we're gonna include the pasta.jpg, and you people who know, you developers who are watching this video, you must be screaming in your head right now, but you'll see where I'm going with in a second. So we have the pasta.jpg in here, and let's refresh and see if we see the picture of pasta. So no, we don't actually see the picture of pasta, and the reason that is because all images must be in the folder with our HTML file. So this introduction series is supposed to have the pasta file. I'm not going to do it right now. I'm going to do another thing first. First, in case our image isn't available, we always want to have alt, so that means alternative, just in case our image isn't available. We have some alternative text. Picture of pasta. So this is some alternative text which will appear if the image is not available. So you see this image telling us that our image is not available, and we have our alternative text which says picture of pasta. Okay, so let's drag and drop this pasta to the introduction series folder, and let's refresh and see how it looks. Okay, so we get a nice picture of some pasta. Okay, so I'm actually going. That image was huge, if you notice. So I'm going to include another attribute, and everything that goes inside the tags, such as source equals quotation marks and alt equals quotation marks, is called an attribute. So we're going to include another attribute called style, and we're going to give this style attribute a height of 100 pixels and a width of 100 pixels, and this is the syntax to do it. You have the property colon the value semicolon the next property and then the value. We're going to go for another example of that later. Okay, so you have it right here. So another interesting thing is that we have a tag here, we have multiple tags, but each of these seem to have started on their own line. The H2 tag started here, the H1 tag started here, H2 started here, horizontal line right here. We have paragraph 1, paragraph 2, they're just p tags by the way, p tag, link, image. And we can see why in the developer tools using Chrome. So we're going to click this little button. There's a different one for Firefox, and go on more tools, developer tools. More tools. And if you see, we have our HTML code right here. So we're going to check out this developer tools. So of course we have our code, and notice how when we hover over these, when our mouse cursor hovers over these elements, the highlighted elements has taken up full width of the screen until something interesting happens right around here. Both of these do not take up full width of the element. And do you notice this display block? This is for the H2 tag. So that's because we have block level elements and inline elements. Now block level elements take up the full width of the section. So if it's a block level element, it'll take the full width of the screen. So again, we'll go into developer tools and we'll see that H1 is a block level element because it's highlighted for the full width. That means when we write an H1 element, the next element will continue on the bottom of the H1 element. And the same is true for the H2 element, HR, P element, and A is not an H1 element. It is an inline element. And the image is not in block level element, it is an inline element. But what if we wanted the image to be on the bottom? One thing we could do is include a break line. So that's a BR tag. Again, it's a self-closing tag. In a later video, we'll discuss how to change an element from an inline element to a block level element, and an element from a block level element to an inline element. But for now, we're just going to use the BR tag. The last tag I'm going to teach you right now is called div. And div is just a generic type of tag. It's often used for containers and for creating boxes, creating cool little animations, things like that. But we'll see. It does not appear. I did save it, by the way. We're going to check our developer tools, and we see the div is available, but it's not on the screen, or at least we don't see it. And if we look to the side here, we see 1264 times 0, and that is expressing that we have a width of 1264 and a height of 0 by default. So we want to change that height. So we're going to go back to style equals, and we're going to give it a height of, let's say, 100 pixels. And let's give it a background color because we don't want it to be white or transparent because then we wouldn't see the div. Background of, let's say, orange. And now you have the nice orange background. So the div is available now. Another cool thing we could do is contain the rest of our elements, or the rest of our elements right here, within our div, so that all of these elements are now children of the div element. So they're nested within the div element, and we'll see something interesting happen here. First, I'm going to take off the height of 100 pixels. We see the div wraps around the entire, all these elements. So it looks really nice now. And that is it for the elements that I'm going to teach you in this video. In other videos, I'll get maybe more in depth with HTML, and I'll get more into CSS and JavaScript. So I'm just going to copy and paste this, put it on a new page, just to show you, to teach you what these elements do, what these tags do. Actually, they're not elements. So we have this tag right here, doctype HTML, and what that does is it tells our browser that we're using HTML5. And another important thing is doctype has to be capitalized. And what I'm running right here is a comment. Comments the browser will not see. It is just for the doctype has to be capitalized. Comments are just for the developers to see, or the designer, whoever is reading your code. It's just for the reader of the code. It's not actually going to be in the browser. So a lot of the times we'll include them as like descriptions of our code, just to tell ourselves often that what this code does, just in case we forget. So we have doctype HTML that tells us, the browser, that it's running HTML5, and that's been the standard for a few years now, and it is as of 2017. We have the HTML tag, and I forgot one thing actually. We have to close out the HTML tag. We have the head tag, and within the head goes all the meta tags. We can include links to our JavaScript file, which I'll teach you about in a later video. So this is would be a link to our JavaScript file. Of course, we don't have a JavaScript file. We can include a link to our CSS, a link to our fonts, anything like that. We can also include a title for our page. Of course, this isn't the same as a header. The document, the DOM, the document object model, which is just the browser from here to the end, will not actually read the title. But this gives us our title up top right here. So we're going to see a change to, let's say, my first site. So we see my first site. And within the body, we have all of our content. So I'm going to copy and paste this back. All of our content that we actually want to see goes within our body. And you can read more about that on W3 Schools. So I'm going to save this. Of course, we have the closing body tag and the closing HTML tag. And we'll see our site now. And instead of my first site, I'm just going to change that to Joe's Pizza Palace, or pizza restaurant. And refresh it, and you should see Joe's Pizza Restaurant up top. Okay, so now we're going to deploy this website. And we're going to we're going to do that using Bitballoon. And I did this a couple times, but I've already registered for Bitballoon. But you can register very simply. Bitballoon, I don't believe there's a register option, but you just sign in with your email and a password you want to use, and it'll register your account and send you an email. It's a little bit weird that way. I believe it's a bug. They should fix it eventually. So our new website is being uploaded. It gives you like a website name. I'm just gonna change the name. Let's call this Restaurant Joey. And our website is now deployed. You can actually go on this link. And of course we see the pasta image. So that's it for now. And again, there was that website W3 Schools, which is a super useful resource. And that's it for now. Remember to like and subscribe and sign up for notifications to get the next, so when I release the next video for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you do get updated.